And Jason, take it away.
You're listening to eLearnChat, where talk is knowledge.
Hello and welcome to eLearnChat, our new podcast featuring prominent leaders, shakers and movers in the e-learning and training industry. And hello everyone, this is eLearnChat, episode number 41. I'm Rick Zanotti, and with me today is, there she is, Jean Franzblau. How are you, Jean?
Hi, wonderful. Welcome. Hi, everybody.
And a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Yeah, here we are. It's New Year. Can you believe it? 2012. We've got about a little less than 12 months and we're all dead. Isn't that great?
According to whom?
According to, I don't know, some interesting interpretations of Mayan predictions. Mm-hmm. We're all about to die. So enjoy your life. Enjoy everything. Get ready to die, and we'll see you back here in 2013. So, I don't know, since I've been a kid, I think we've had at least 8 or 10 of these end of the world things, and we're still here. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I still think about the Y2K scare, that 2000. I mean, I packed stuff in my trunk.
Did you really?
Yes, I had food and supplies in my trunk. I went to a retreat. I had a wonderful time. It wasn't like I was not having a good time, but there was a lot of uncertainty.
Oh, that's funny. Now, see, I worked in IT for a long time, 25 years, and Y2K wasn't a big deal. It was just, right. It's amazing how when the media got a hold of it, it just went completely bonkers.
Yeah.
There were some possible devices that could have caused an issue, but nothing like what they talked about. It was just really the media going nuts and people believing it. So
yeah, at that time, I was not in technology in any way, shape, or form, so I was with the media.
Yep. So basically, nothing happened.
Yep.
And we're still here. And we're still here. It was a good year, and life went on. And 2012, same thing. We'll see what happens. What is it? December 12th, I think, is the cataclysmic day. I think that was it.
Oh boy. Did you say September 12th?
No, December 12th, I think.
Okay. At least I get to have another birthday.
Ah, okay. So anyway, well, here we are. This is going to be our kind of introductory show. We wanted to introduce you to Jean. You guys met Jean when we did our Terrence Wing Memorial. Jean was a good friend of Terrence's, and Terrence introduced me to Jean, I guess it's been about a couple of years already.
Through Twitter.
Through Twitter. And then Jean does all sorts of cool stuff. She does a lot of acting work. She does voiceover, writes quite a bit. You're pretty prolific on your writing from what I've seen and heard. And some of your stuff is absolutely hilarious.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm working on a performance that I'm writing.
I didn't get one of the videos you've done, which I find it's one of my favorites that you've done. You've done a dating video.
Yeah.
I love that one. I didn't have a chance to get it for today's show, but that one is absolutely hilarious. I think maybe we'll show it in the next couple weeks or the next show when we don't have a guest, because it is funny. And
Thank you.
It's actually very practical. It's good advice on some of that.
Yeah, I wrote it before internet dating was talked about. People were very hush-hush about it at the time. So the fact that it's still funny, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah. When did you write that?
In 99, 2000.
Did you really?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems pretty current.
I know. I'm so proud of that.
When did you actually do the video?
We shot it in 2000, and it rolled out in 2000.
You're kidding. So that video is almost 12 years old.
Yes, and it's still funny.
Wow, I thought it was current. I thought you just did that not long ago.
I know.
Sometime last year. That was pretty good. So we'll definitely have to show that video. And if any of you are interested, you can go to youtube.com and type in Jean Franzblau. And here's her name, her spelling right there underneath her. And take a look at some of the stuff she's done. She's done some good work. And Terrence and her used to do quite a few videos together, and I've seen some of those. And they're also, I think, on YouTube somewhere. I know you put some of that stuff up.
We have the link, but it's not posted. It's because it's articulate. It's on Articulate.
Oh, the Articulate one. Okay, I thought he had made a video of that one.
Oh, you're right. But then there was one with Julie Orlov. Yes.
Yep. Oh, that was the other one. That's right. Her love book. That was one that you guys did. I remember that was supposed to be a 2-hour shoot, and I think you took, what, about 12? You guys did that?
Indeed.
That was a full day shoot.
Yeah, I allowed myself to be the actor, and I'm like, well, that was my last scene. Bye. Bye-bye. Yeah. Oh, bye, Taryn. See ya. And he stayed on, and
oh, that's funny.
As the director.
Well, one of the things that Jean and I both really like is doing video in our e-learning pieces. One video, I think video is one of the most impactful ways of training, and you definitely remember video more than you do just static slides. Mm-hmm. You're doing a lot of video right now in what you're doing, right?
That's right. The client that I'm working with right now, which is YogaWorks, has a lot of millennial employees. They're very passionate about training using video, and they're very passionate about not paying for me to go all over the place to deliver training in person. So there's the cost-effective piece, and there's also they want to create online training that's extremely engaging.
Yeah, and it makes a difference. You're doing everything in video vignettes, right?
Do you mean am I using vignettes for all of my work?
Are you doing a lot of that?
I'm trying to create some kind of compelling story that explains what the problem is and what the solution is. So I'm trying to use narrative.
Okay. That sounds
good.
But
in one case, I created a black and white public service announcement looking 1950s commercial. Mm-hmm. It was a PSA.
Yeah.
Called retail merchandise. It was about this virus that made it difficult for you to approach customers on the retail floor. So it was just to give the employees a laugh, but also to provide a training tool. Once I got their attention, provide a training tool that they would open and use.
That's pretty good. Kill them with a pandemic, then train them.
Exactly.
That's scary. Now, in the next couple of weeks, we've got several guests lined up to start our year with. We've got Chris Allen from Allen Interactions, but more famously from Zebra Zaps, a brand new authoring tool, which is gaining some traction out there. And it's pretty interesting. They've done a really good job as far as kind of a logic engine or state engine for things. And he's going to talk about the tool, where it fits, what it can be used for, and he'll have some demo videos for us and all sorts of stuff. So he'll be on next week. We're looking forward to seeing him. And then the week after, Jean, you've got
Ray Jimenez. Ray Jimenez of Vignettes. He is passionate about creating e-learning modules that are short, extremely emotional, very relevant, and starting learning conversations with the employees who see them. Really innovative stuff.
Yeah, and the nice thing from what I've seen, Ray does a lot of stuff. It's kind of like morality plays every so often. There's some good values to it. There are, it just has a lot of depth to some of the things he's doing. And I believe he's also managing or running a lot of the seminars or webinars for Training Magazine.
He also has been for years giving webinars with ASTD, the Los Angeles chapter. I think there's thousands of people. I mean, I could just say, I don't want to do hyperbole, hundreds and hundreds of people from all over the world attend for free on a monthly basis.
Millions.
He's a giver.
Millions. Say it. Just say it. Millions.
Hundreds of billions of people around the planet are tuning in.
Trillions of people haven't even been born yet actually watch those. So
that's right.
This is good. So I'm looking forward. I've seen some of what Ray's done. It's really good stuff. Real interesting. We've also got Tyagi lined up, but I don't have a date yet.
He's rescheduling.
We're rescheduling him, so we're going to get him involved. I've never met him personally. I had a chance to have dinner with him, Terrence, and several other people, but unfortunately I could not make it that night. And so we missed out on him. It was real close to where we live, too, so we missed out in more ways than one. We actually could have avoided a commute. But
well, I can tell you that Tyagi, I've taken a day workshop with him and attended a chapter meeting with ASTD with him. He is naughty, funny, he's brilliant. You have to keep an ear. He has this fantastic Indian accent, of course, and you have to listen carefully because you won't believe what he says sometimes.
Okay.
You have to keep a sharp ear out for this guy. He's a lot of fun. and his focus is games, learning games.
Interesting. Okay. Well, he sounds like it'll be fun. I can.
Oh yeah, watch out.
I can practice my Indian accent with him.
I don't know if he'll appreciate it, but he'll have a quip, I'm sure.
Actually, I know a lot of the guys had Adobe, and every so often my Indian accent comes out. They laugh. They think it's funny.
I do one too, but never in front of somebody who actually can, tell the difference.
I only do it as long as they know I'm doing it and they know it's a joke. But anyway, it is catchy. And accents are catchy. Just go to Texas for about a day or two. Every time I go to Texas, within days, I'm y'all. Everybody's y'all. How y'all doing?
Y'all. I'm from South Florida, where we have pretty much a standard American accent. My sister went to Florida State University in Tallahassee, so north.
Yeah.
Came back home with a y'all.
Y'all?
Yeah. That's the South Florida, North Florida thing.
It's really catchy. So anyway, so that's our lineup for the next about 3 or 4 weeks, actually about 2 to 3 weeks. And then we are going to be at, Jean's not going, but I will be at ASTD Tech Knowledge. And at Tech Knowledge, I'll be doing, 2 training sessions on audio. So it's all going to be about audio for, how to have great audio in your e-learning pieces. And we'll talk not only about the audio recording, but also about voiceover work, how to be a better voiceover person. Even if you're not a voiceover person, how to take advantage of your voice, how to do things with your voice that you didn't think you could do, and how to project a little bit. Now, my voice is kind of shot today because I've got a little bit of a bronchial thing, which is almost gone, but you can have a lot of fun with your voice, not being a quote-unquote professional, and just really get into it. Jean, how long have you been doing voiceover?
Let's see. I think the first time I did a professional voiceover, it was over 15 years ago. And it was actually for a company that I believe at the time was called Learning Systems. Okay. It was before I even knew, before being a trainer or a learning professional was even a glimmer in my eye. I was an actor at the time, but it was so much fun.
That's true. So what are the parallels that you see between acting and training?
Well, I think standing in front of a group, if it's kind of in-person training or even online, my job is to engage. And by understanding an audience, as an actor who understands their audience in a play, it's quite similar. I think it's quite similar. Probably a stand-up comedian would also possibly be a good trainer if they loved teaching.
The problem is we can't use comedy that much in our training. It's really a shame because a lot of corporations, no, you can't use anything funny. You might offend somebody. You might do this, you might do that. And they're like, no, you're missing out the point. There's so much you could do with comedy or with humor in training that can make a big difference.
I think it needs to be relevant. It needs to be relevant. So, 2 guys walked into a bar might not be relevant to the management training unless it's relevant to the management training. And if it is, it's fair game.
Yeah. I used to work in a corporation where 2 guys used to walk in a bar all the time. And then the memo came out saying those 2 guys can't walk in the bar anymore. So, but that would have been made for a funny vignette about what you can and can't do as a sales manager or a sales trainer, or what you do with your clients. Because what they were doing is getting their clients sort of drunk and then signing paperwork. That was a long time ago, but
that's
know what?
That's so 1950s.
It was 1980s, actually.
Oh, man.
And then the memos came out, no more going to a bar with your clients. And but that was good. And that was a large company. That was Marshall McLennan back when I was a project manager for them. And it was interesting just seeing the back and forth between what was considered, and I wasn't in training then per se. I did work with training people, but I was in the IT group at the time. But it was interesting watching the dynamics of how things were taught in corporations, and indirectly as a lot of IT groups, I had the fortune of actually running several of the training departments in companies I worked at as an IT person, which were very operational in terms of the kind of people that we dealt with. And I've always said training should really be under operations, because at that point, then you are relevant to what's going on in your work units. All too often, training reports to HR, and I think that's probably the worst place to put training. only because
It's so interesting.
it's HR is really the paperwork pushers. They push the paperwork, the benefits, all the other things. A lot of times they do some organizational development, but more often than not, it's a minor role compared to what the operations people do, which need specific training in their areas. So usually when you find training professionals that work in operations, they have to know their business really well, or at least that portion of their business. And
I wonder how often that happens. How many
probably not
training
enough
professionals? I'm thinking that almost all in the larger companies, all trainers are underneath the HR director.
Yeah, and it's probably a bad place to put them. It's sort of like in the old days, IT professionals were under finance, which was like, why would you put IT under finance? Other than the fact that they run the books on computers, it's a bad place to put IT. IT should really report either to, at a president level, you should report to the president and have, it's a better place to put it, or at worst, or at best, actually, report to an operational unit. A VP of operations is somebody who's actually involved with the running of a company versus somebody who's involved with managing the paperwork of a company. It's a little different. And all too often, you're right. I find IT, or actually training under HR, for the most part, they're fairly independent under HR. I don't see them really bound by HR per se. But it's an interesting place to put people. And
I definitely, where I'm working right now, when I'm developing a training, my colleague in HR next door goes, "Don't forget to mention the paperwork. Don't forget to mention the process and the procedure." And it does. I do get to fold it in, but yeah, it gets incorporated in it.
Yeah, and the paperwork is
how to keep it interesting is my challenge.
And the paperwork is important because, boy, there's a lot of paperwork out there, and there's a lot of things you can get sued for if you don't do it right. So, and we live in California. Both Gina and I are in California. So, there's, I think, one lawyer per every 10 people. There's a lot of lawyers here. And as a result, you've got to kind of watch what you do HR-wise in California, which is sort of crippling for companies, but that's California.
Yeah, I don't know how HR executives sleep at night.
They don't.
It's just so much liability potential. It makes my own gut turn.
Yeah, pretty much by showing up at work, you've already broken some sort of law, I'm sure. It's yeah. Hello, I woke up this morning. I will sue you for that. We actually, it's funny. We've been in business it's going to be 28 years, I think, this February. And in those years, we've never been sued by a client. We have been sued, and that's pretty good in California. We have been sued one time by a quote-unquote competitor. Which,
what did they want?
We had hired 3 people from their company, but we didn't know who they were. We had never heard of them before. And so they sued us saying we stole their intellectual property. Okay. That was sort of interesting. Of the 3, 2 had not much intellect, as we found out shortly thereafter, and one left because from the lawsuit he got a little afraid. But it was a very interesting situation. To get sued by a competitor based on stealing intellectual property when he put an ad in the paper. That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, subsequently they went under, so I guess there was some karma involved in that one because they were about 5 times bigger than we were, which I thought was even more interesting. But that was over a decade ago, and it was just really odd. And I go, wow, we're being sued by a competitor who we never even knew was a competitor. They were totally in a different marketplace. They were in the retail. I guess they were doing retail training or something. We've never done retail training per se, at least at their level. So, yeah, it's an interesting world out there, and that would be a typical lawsuit in California. You probably wouldn't get that in too many other places, but in California, maybe New York, that would be a typical one.
Hey, Rick, I went to your website and poked around. It's so fascinating to be able to see which clients allowed you to show some stuff to the world as a sample. And I was learning how sheriffs learn about mental health and mental illness. That was really an interesting.
That was a fun project, and it's interesting. What we did was we spent about 3 weeks in jail. That was not really fun, but
wow.
They actually did let us go home at night. But no, we actually filmed for 3 separate occasions in one of the largest jails in the country, which is called Twin Towers in downtown Los Angeles. And what we were doing is showing scenarios, and they were pretty raw. I mean, these did not have very good words. I mean, they were harsh. They were like the typical thing a sheriff would see in a jail environment. And we were showing how to deal with mental health issues, because a lot of the inmates, at least 20 to 30%, have mental health problems. Whether
That's a big number.
It's a big number, and whether it's severe ADHD or whether it's depression or bipolarity or whatever, there's just a lot of issues, and a lot of these guys have fallen through the cracks in the system. They have never gotten treatment, and jail is the first time they get any kind of treatment, and it really makes a difference and can help them. So being in the jail environment was really interesting. It's a good thing that we have not broken any laws, because it's not a really nice place to be. The training was just realistic, and
did they use actors, or who performed in
everybody in that was actually a psychological practitioner. They were all actually therapists, from the inmates to the actual practitioner, actually the actual psychologist who show up to help. Every one of them was either a real sheriff or a real psychologist or psychiatric aide or whatever. So they were all actually playing the roles that they're very used to helping or dealing with.
I think it's a great idea to include in the performers to be included in creating a video.
Yeah.
I think that gets buy-in. I think people feel included, and I think it's possible training can go viral if your friends or colleagues are in the training.
It's true, and the thing is, you can bring actors in, and we have in some occasions, not this one, but the actors may or may not know. Like, for example, if we brought actors in for this one, they probably wouldn't really know how they act, because
unless they did really good research,
or unless they were ex-cons, who have been in jail for a long time and they knew how to act. But in this case, no, they were people from thing. Now, we've had actors come in other situations, and they did a pretty good job. That all really comes down to coaching, how you coach them, how you direct them, and how well they get the gist of what they're supposed to be doing. But in a lot of things, for example, with Southern California Edison, we did a lot of safety training. And we did, and these were team building safety training type things. And the whole purpose of the safety training was to build the team so that they knew how to react in emergency situations, how to follow procedures. And they actually allowed a lot of humor in those things. That made it fun.
Good.
We were able to actually do a lot with the humor, and we created some really funny. Some of them I think are actually on our website. I think one of them with the lineman who burns himself at the end and just goes through all. That was actually sort of funny. They were actually a lot of fun to film. That was about a 1.5 day shoot out in the farms of Visalia, Tulare County in.
Oh, I've been there.
It's pretty out there.
Oh yeah.
But it was funny. It's just funny watching the interactions and the kind of work that they do. But the video training really does, I think, probably make even more of an impact than e-learning on its own. That's why if you can combine video with e-learning, I think you've got a really good, how should I put it, a really good solution. And something that people usually will remember, unless the training is, hello, and welcome to, and then you just go, oh, I think we're about to fall asleep. And, one of the things, I mean, you as a voiceover person, one of the things that we always talk about is when you do your training, how many times have you heard training like this? Welcome to Company A's HR training. In this lesson, you will learn. And that's 4 hours, and 4 hours of that. And you go, okay, guys, let's put a little emotion into it. Our voices kind of go up and down a little bit. It's a wave. If you keep it flat like this, people will be bored. I mean, it's amazing how quickly you can put people to sleep. And we've all been through training where you just go, all right, I think we are going into a catatonic state, which makes you receptive to training. You subconsciously, you may actually be accepting some of it, but it's not the most practical way to do training. And not really a good idea or a good way to do things.
I think it takes about a minute, I think, for a person to realize if they're going to be bored or not. I think that first minute, you've got to grab them with the voice, with the image.
Yeah, it might even be less. I mean, how many times have you heard someone and you heard the voice, and in seconds you go, I don't really like that voice. or I don't care for that voice, or that voice doesn't do it for me. And I mean, that could just be that quickly. That's why I always tell people, if you have no budget, try to make some budget. Get a voiceover person.
What do you mean by that?
Let's say you have no budget for audio, or you have just enough budget, or you're doing your own audio because you have no budget. If you haven't had any VO training, or you don't know how to use your voice, just find a couple of $100, $300, whatever, and get a VO talent. You're going to be better off. They'll be able to speak better. They'll be able to project the message better, and ultimately they'll be able to make your training valuable. Versus, oh no, here's another e-learning course. You know.
And they'll be able to make really boring copy sort of interesting.
Yeah, and that's so important, because without that, you've got bored students, and that's one of the things. You know, it's interesting. I've had this gripe with the e-learning community for about, I don't know, 25 years. You know, in the last 25-something years, the e-learning community keeps saying this is a new industry. You know, it's not new anymore, guys. It's been around for 25, 30 years. Do something with it. Quit saying it's new. It's not new. The equipment's new. The hardware's new. We have more capabilities of really combining all the media now, but it's not new. It's been around forever. You look at some of the original books on instructional design for e-learning. They've been around since the 80s, some of them 70s.
Wow.
So I just find it funny how they keep saying it's a new industry. No, it isn't.
Well, we're good to be paired together, because you are so seasoned, and I have just been placed into this position where I'm creating e-learning really for the first time. So I'll be able to bring that newcomer's perspective.
Yeah, it's such a season means old. I've been around a long time. Anyway. No, that's true though, but you've been on the periphery and working with e-learning for a long time. You just haven't, maybe, like I said, I know you and Terrence a couple of years ago were doing e-learning development.
I feel like I was like dipping my toes, trying, checking, seeing. I guess I say it's how I feel. It's how I feel. Where I'm working with right now, I don't have access to Articulate because we're posting using Google Sites. So my challenge is to create, really I'm supposed to use videos and maybe attaching documentation, or maybe send people some workbooks, but I'm still trying to get my arms around how to do this without Articulate.
Right. And there's a lot of tools. We're going to be talking with a lot of vendors in the next year about some of the tools and ways to get things out there. There's actually, I don't know if there's a lot of free tools in e-learning, but there are tools that are fairly inexpensive that can do a pretty good job. Articulate is definitely one of the best vendors out there. And it's funny, what I think where Articulate shines more than just about anyone right now is they have such a strong user community.
Oh my gosh, I don't use it, but I go to it and learn from it every day.
Yeah, you've got guys like Dave Anderson, Tom Coleman, Jeanette Brooks, who put out a lot of screeners on teaching people how to use the product. And there's just a lot of passion there. Well, maybe not with Tom. Tom's not passionate, but no, Tom's great. Tom's great. I kid Tom. I know Tom. He has had me on the floor laughing with some of the stuff he does, because he gets out there. He really puts out some funny stuff, and he sort of has that dry sense of humor. He's absolutely hilarious, and yet he's extremely effective. But no, you've got all those guys from the Articulate world putting out some very good content, and they have a vibrant user community. And that's things that people like Adobe should really try to encompass. Adobe's kind of the company that you get the feeling is just a big corporate entity. They're not at the personal level, and Articulate gets personal. And I think that makes a big difference.
I haven't seen anyone who does it as well.
No, not really. I can't think of anybody, and some are trying, but I think they do an exemplary job of putting out very good training and good products and just getting people excited. And
in terms of the community, like I'm thinking about all the elements that go to it. Regular content, I think he's sending out stuff once or twice a week. It's always short and extremely useful. Free stuff, consistently giving out free stuff.
Yep.
And then he's traveling the world giving conferences, so you're getting that human connection. So connections are being built. And, You know, I was talking about that fellow from Bangalore, India,
Yes.
who was in charge of the user community of his company. He said the communities that were most successful had some kind of real-time projects that they worked on. They
Right.
weren't just online meeting for the first time.
Right.
They had some kind of relationship. So I'm thinking because they have that alchemy
Yep.
that Articulate is doing, that the community is so vibrant.
Yep. That's probably true. And I think they practice what they preach because they do their own internal development in groups. If you look at guys
What do you
like,
mean by that?
well, for example, Tom, Dave, and Jeanette are all in different places, but they all coordinate together when they do their development. They do a lot of the screeners, they do their meetings, and they make it work. And I think that's one of the cool things about it. We do kind of the same thing in terms of our employees and contractors. They're everywhere. We used to be all in one office. It's just too hard to get people in one location with talent. You have to find talent where it is, and then you use the medium available, which is things like WebEx, GoToMeeting, whatever kind of method you're using to get people together. And it works well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be traveling like we used to, which was a lot. And we're able to do a lot of this just strictly by through. We use GoToMeeting right now. That's our preferred one. But
I'm using it too. It's great. I love that you can create a video from it.
and it's easy.
Yeah.
And that just gets people together. I mean, how many, you've guys got about, what, 20 branches or?
Yeah, there are 22 studios, about 320 people to interact with.
Yep, and it's just getting people together, and you can get your corporate message out and whatever without having to go to every single office or branch all the time.
But I will tell you, I've got 2 trips planned, both to San Francisco and New York, and I'm really looking forward to getting that face-to-face in, just not all the time.
Absolutely. You know, that's another key point. Even though a lot of us do e-learning and we're all electronic and internet-based, nothing beats getting to meet people in person. I think there's that certain dynamic. Yeah, like you said, you can't travel every single day of every week. You burn out real quickly. But it's really, yeah, I've done that too. It's not the thing that's good on the body. But afterwards, when you do have a chance, go meet your customers, go meet your clients. We have had clients we've never met in person in the old days, and they were happy with that. Now you don't have to come out. The internet allows that. But there's nothing like that. Make the trip. Even if it's on your own dime, just make it. And when we do that, at least once a year, we travel to several of our clients, especially our larger clients, and we'll just go meet them. It's just nothing better than having a dinner, having a lunch, talking with them, and seeing how things are going, and just getting to know them better. I think that's great.
I'm curious about, Rick, is if you have Skype conversations with your clients early on, I want to get more involved with Skype with our folks who are in San Francisco and New York, simply just so I can, I'm not going to see them for the next few months, but I want to know them. And I feel like there might be some resistance
we haven't
from
found
folks who don't use Skype often.
Yeah, we don't use Skype with our clients, short of occasional voice conversations. Most of it is done just via conference calls. Rarely are there any video calls, only because if you look at large corporations, they don't have a lot of bandwidth to really handle large videos coming in and out. So they won't do the video. It's really rare. But we've had a couple here and there, but it's rare. Not that much on video. We do a lot of voice conference calls. I'd love to do more video, but we just don't see people. Well, also the thing is, if you're in a large corporation, let's say somebody like GE, they don't have webcams. So I mean, you can count on your hand how many webcams are probably out of 100,000 people.
Because they're desktops that
they're
are
desktops, or they're in areas where they just don't have a need for that. So what you have is some of them might have webcams, but not the average person.
Okay.
So that's why the video conferencing is just a real tough one, because they just don't have the hardware for it. We deal with some companies that have hundreds of thousands of employees who don't have sound cards because they don't need sound cards. Everything they do is on a computer, and then they have a telephony system attached to it, but no sound card. So that makes training interesting. We do a lot of training without sound, which I hate. I think it just doesn't. It's
without sound.
But you know what? It's software simulations, and they change so often they don't want to put voice into it. And I understand that there's a lot of regulations that change, but you do lose something without the sound. You lose, especially with the younger people who aren't readers per se. you lose just that extra bit of media that gets the senses going and lets you just learn differently. So
Dawn Mahoney is chatting here and saying, she said, I've been one of those associates more than once. I'm fighting the sound card battle for our field people right now. I've never heard that phrase, the sound card battle.
It's so true because, and it's funny, you think all PCs come with sound cards. Oh no, they get specifically configured to have no sound cards. So it makes for an interesting way to train people. And Dawn, you're right, it is a battle. And you may lose that battle. It's going to be a hard one to win because most corporations say, nah, you don't need sound. And they don't really understand the benefit of the sound with the training. Now the workaround for a lot of companies is they'll set up training departments, or I should say media classrooms where you have the PCs with sound cards and they go do their training there. If you have people on the phone, customer service, whatever, they'll pull them out from the phones and put them in those rooms to do training. So they may have sound cards in those, they may not. So it just depends on the organization, the number of people, and the kind of training that they do. I personally think sound is so crucial to training. In fact, if you look at video games, I bought a PS3 earlier this year, and nobody believes I bought it just to actually analyze it. I like playing games, but I've probably played it about 6 times in the year, in about 6-7 months we've had it. However, what was really fascinating about the PS3 is the graphics are good, the animations are great, but the sound is what carries the training or the game. If you try that without sound, try muting your PS3 or your Nintendo or whatever you use. It's lame. But the sound effects, everything you do with sound is really what gives that game that energy. And it's fascinating.
I'm going to be giving a train the trainer, trying to help empower the department heads to do their own videos and to do their own training. And I'm telling them to think about the 5 senses. What are they going to hold? What can they touch? Where's the rhythm? What can they hear? What can they see? I only wish we can add taste.
Yeah.
But we're sensual people, and we remember through our senses. So I appreciate your sound. You're a hearing guy. Your ears are tuned in.
Yeah, I think without that, you're cutting out a key component of the way our senses and our brains process information. We do process visually, but we also process an awful lot with our ears, auditorily. Hearing is really a crucial sense, much more than we actually give it credit for. I'll challenge anyone to do this experiment. And I did this when I was at LA City College years ago. I was in a psychology class, and one of the experiments, we had 2 experiments. They were really fascinating. One of them was you had to blindfold yourself, black blindfold, and put some cotton and stuff so you couldn't see anything. You were completely blind.
Okay.
I'm fairly blind myself, so I don't see all that well sometimes, especially in dark situations. But so for me, that was an interesting kind of experiment, but completely blind, and somebody guides you through the whole campus. It is eerie. It is scary. You don't know where you're going, what's in front of you. Are there steps? Are there no steps? Are there dips in the road? Are there cracks? Do that for an hour. Do the experiment.
An hour is a long time.
That is a long time. And by the time you're done, you are tired. But the thing about the experiment is it shows you how much you rely on sight. Now, leave the sight and turn off the hearing. Put in really strong, what do they call them?
Earphones?
Earphones or earplugs, and do the same thing. Now walk around, and you'll find that even though you can see everything, you're a little tentative because you can't feel auditorily what's going to happen around you.
Yeah, I have a sense of you. It sounds like you would feel a little unsafe, but also a little isolated.
And it's really fascinating when you lose a sense, any of the senses, but amazingly so, sound. When you lose that sense, you are kind of in a vacuum. And those are very good senses. Put yourself in that situation. It sounds uncomfortable. It is. But the thing is, the beauty of that is it shows you how much each sense really makes a difference to our whole package. And, you can work around the senses. There are many people who don't have hearing or don't have sight, and they work around it quite well. I had a college professor. He was a business. Let's see, what was he? I think it was business law. He was completely blind. He was one of the best professors I had. He was really interesting. Blind. He would ask you not to move your seats, so he knew where you were, and he would remember you by name, by your seat number, or where you were, because he assumed.
Wow.
And it was really cool, because he could talk to you and look at you. He knew. He knew where you were.
So many of us don't take the time, who are sighted and have perfect hearing, to learn the names of our.
I know. He knew everybody in the class. There were about 50 people in the classroom. He knew everybody, and he knew where they were, what they were doing, and how they were doing it. And it was really cool. It was interesting. I also once we had a friend. She was an older lady who had lost her vision. She had severe glaucoma and lost her vision. She was a real estate salesman in Palos Verdes, California. And it was fascinating. She would go out with this. She was fairly tall, and she had a real close friend of hers who was also a real estate salesperson who would help her. She would take her around and tell her, she'd walk into a house and goes, okay, what do you see here? She goes, well, this has high ceilings. We've got windows to the left. We've got a big panoramic view to the right. There's a staircase.
Whoa.
She would describe where she was. And this lady, believe it or not, was the top salesperson in her real estate. It was like a Century 21. I forgot if it was Century 21 or another one, but she was the top person in that group of about 20, 30 people.
Wow.
And that's to me, those people are completely motivational, how they can get by something that is fairly severe, and they don't, you know what, it doesn't limit them. You know, the amount of obstacles that they get through, that's motivational. But from an e-learning point of view, if you're going to do training, put yourself in that situation. Even if you do it for 5 minutes, go out there and cover your eyes, cover your ears, do something to make yourself a little bit uncomfortable and see how the senses really impact the way you learn. Then you might have some interesting ideas out of that.
I only wish that, back in the day there was something called smell-o-vision.
Yes.
Right? Can you imagine if you were doing a training and you got something wrong and then out of your laptop a stinky smell would happen? Or if you did something good, a nice, gentle smell of a rose would come out of your laptop.
I suspect that wouldn't last long, but... But anyway, yep, that's good. Well, Jean, I think we've been on for about 45 minutes already, so we're about 15 minutes longer than we should be, but this is Jean's introductory show.
Thanks for welcoming me, everybody. It's been really nice chatting.
Well, everybody, thank you so much. Again, we wish you all a very happy new year. It's the last year of your life, so enjoy it, because next year, 2013, will be a new one. And we'll have some fun along the way. So next week, we have, again, Christopher Allen from Allen Interactions Zebra Zaps. He'll be talking with us about his new authoring tool and what they do with it. That should be fun. And we will see you guys all next week. Jean, you have a great week.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have
Bye,
a good
Rick.
one. And all right, here we go. So we are closing this recording down.